from Narok town. Dawn would give a clearer picture of the tragedy that had befallen passengers in a Homa Bay-bound bus. In the light of day, area residents pitched in, helping in search and rescue efforts, and once that was done, gathering up the passengers' belongings in a heap that would remain at the side of the road for the better part of the morning. 41 people, among them 4 children, died when the bus veered off the road and plunged into the valley.
Driver ya hiyo gari kumbe vile alipata hawezi control gari, aliruka.
Tukakutana na mtu mmoja. Tukapata kama ako na ka split kidogo kwa kichwa. Tukamuuliza kama alipigwa na wajambazi. Wakatuambia iko gari yao imeanguka na imetumbukisha kwa msituni ndani.
The ill-fated city-to-city bus left Nairobi shortly after 10 on Wednesday night, headed to Homa Bay. Along this stretch of road described as a black spot, it veered off the road, plunged into the valley and rolled several times before it came to a stop.
Sasa nimelala, then all of a sudden nikasikia kitu tukaanza kuroll ndani ya msituni. Mimi nilikuwa ni kama naota. Nasema leo naota ndoto gani? Mimi naota tu na tunaendelea. Hata hizi bafu sipati juu ya mawe. Ilikuwa ina roll inapiga sisi kwa mawe.
35 people were confirmed dead on the spot. 6 others would later succumb to their injuries, bringing the death toll to 41. A section of the guardrail on this stretch of road has been replaced before and indicated that this is indeed a black spot. And while others in the ill-fated bus would lose their lives, a section would live to tell their tale. 39 survivors were rushed to the Narok District Hospital.
We are trying our best to manage some here. We have 2 who are being managed here who had very severe injuries. One to the abdomen, blunt trauma to the abdomen, and another one severe crash of the right arm.
9 survivors were rushed to Tenwek and Kijabe Mission hospitals, while 3 were taken to Kenyatta National Hospital. Others would be discharged in the course of the day, leaving 3 critically injured patients at the Narok District Hospital. Police now launching investigations into the cause of the accident.
Kulingana na interview zile tumefanya na wale walihusika kwa hii ajali, ni msiko ilikuwa kubwa sana. Ilikuwa imejazwa kwa chini ya gari kwa boot na tena hata kwa juu ya roof ya gari kulikuwa kuna msiko kubwa.
The driver of the vehicle is reported to have flagged down passing cars and sought assistance after the accident occurred. He could not, however, be traced afterwards. Police are now searching for the operators of the city-to-city fleet, who are believed to have gone underground in the wake of the accident. Wilkis Anyabwa, KTN, Narok.
Following the accident, dozens of families are tonight mourning the deaths of their loved ones. One such family is that of Richard Onyango. Onyango lost his wife, a son, and a grandson. Here is Onyango's story. At the Narok District Mortuary, relatives and friends in search of their loved ones who were aboard the ill-fated city-to-city bus wait outside the mortuary, hoping for the best, but fearing the worst. For others, their worst fears had been confirmed. Mzee Richard Onyango is among those whose families have been sent into a period of mourning. Onyango lost his wife, a son, and a grandson in the accident. His wife, 47-year-old Clementina Juma, was in Nairobi for the past 1 month, visiting their third-born son. She had been accompanied on the city visit by her 18-year-old last-born son, Stephen Onyango, who completed his Form 4 studies last year. Stephen had just been admitted to the Meru University.
Na alikuwa akija kuchukua barua yake kwa shule mahali alikuwa akisomea.
Onyango says he was eagerly awaiting the return of his wife and was looking forward to spending time with his grandson, who visits every school holiday.
Ananipenda sana. Aliambia mama yake lazima akuje nyumbani kabla shule ijafunguliwa, alafu anisalamie kwa sababu nyanya walikuwa naye Nairobi.
Onyango last spoke to his wife last night.
Alafu akaniambia wanakuja. Sasa nilikuwa nikiwangojea nyumbani. Sasa wakati ilifika asubuhi ya leo, nikasikia kama inatangazwa kwa redio.
As Onyango's family tries to come to terms with their loss, Felicitas is lucky to be alive. She arrived in Nairobi yesterday from Kilifi and was initially set to travel to Homa Bay during the day.
Nikafika asubuhi kama saa 4, gari lichelewa huko Mombasa. Sasa hawa ni watoto yangu, nikawapigia simu, nikasema nimefika late, siwezi kusafiri saa hii, wacha niende usiku. Sasa ndio wao wakakuja kunichukua, nikaenda nikapumzika nyumbani.
Felicitas says the ill-fated bus is not the one they were set to travel in.
Kwanza tulikuwa kwa gari ingine, wakatoa sisi, wakaleta hiyo, ati hiyo ndio kubwa.
She injured her arm in the accident and is one of the few lucky passengers who suffered minor injuries. Here at the Narok District Hospital, at the moment we are outside the casualty area. All is quiet, all is calm compared to the activity that was witnessed here earlier on in the day. In morning hours, there was a lot of activity here as the casualties were brought in from the scene of the accident. Later on in the day, relatives and friends thronged this hospital in search of their loved ones. Later on in the afternoon, we saw several leaders visiting this hospital. The Cabinet Secretary in charge of Transport, Michael Kamau, was here. The Narok County Governor Samuel Tunai and several members of parliament visited the hospital. All the leaders giving an assurance that measures will be taken to ensure that such accidents do not occur in future. Also, earlier on in the day, we spoke to the Narok County Director of Health, Gulacha Wako, and he made an assurance to relatives who lost their loved ones that the bodies, the hospital mortuary will do all it can to ensure that the bodies are preserved well. The district hospital mortuary only has a capacity to preserve 9 bodies right now. With over 40 bodies, that mortuary is of course overstretched. For now, though, Smart, I hand things back to you.
Thank you very much, Richard, for that update. We're definitely keeping with that story. And Transport Secretary Engineer Michael Kamau says the government is considering to ban night travel of public service vehicles to curb road carnage. Kamau says city-to-city bus will be sued as it lacks a valid license from the Transport Licensing Board. Kamau has also asked the owners plus the driver of the ill-fated bus to surrender to the nearest police station in any part of the country. Now joined by Engineer Kamau himself. Engineer, good evening.
Jambo.
Right, now we've received this update from yourself
Yes.
asking the owners of city-to-city bus to report to the nearest police station, as it were. The driver of this bus has taken off. At this moment, do we have any leads? Have they showed up?
No, I don't think so, because the commandant of police would have told me. I'm sure he's in a news interview at the moment. But they haven't showed up. But we want the owners to come so that they can help police with the investigations.
All right, Nigel, let's talk about this particular accident, talk about this city-to-city bus. It was not supposed to ply this route. It did ply this route. Definitely there were police checks and police stops. It passed all these. What does this say about our transport situation? What does it say about our security situation?
Now, this accident happened at 1:30 a.m. and that is not normal. You don't expect very many police checks at that time. So probably the intention was to evade the police checks. But what I need to tell you is that yesterday, one of the buses belonging to this company was arrested on Thika Road, and the number plate removed. They didn't have the TLB license. So it would appear that this is a company that is operating with impunity. There are about 11 buses, and I'm told only 2 have TLB. So we want these fellows to come to the police and help us with the investigation.
Engineer, let me just see if we got you right.
Yes.
You've said that government has banned night travel of all public service vehicles?
No, that is misreporting. What I said is we are going to consult within government, and if that is a step that we may have to take, then we'll take it. We are carrying out consultations with the National Transport Authority and other arms of government.
Engineer, allow me just to open up this conversation just a bit more. This is not the first accident we've had. We have every other single day, you would say, we have numerous other accidents. This is by far, extremely horrific. But we do have a problem as a country. I don't know, how does this government plan to fix this situation, Engineer?
Well, let me at this point also convey my condolences to the people who lost their loved ones, the travelers who are there. I visited the site. I was at the hospital, and some of them are very young kids, about 4 years old. They have lost their parents. I saw a boy who couldn't even talk, seriously traumatized. I visited the mortuary, and I spoke to my cabinet colleague to assist so that the bodies can be moved to Homa Bay. Most of the travelers were going to Homa Bay, and I met the county member of parliament, Madam Waga, Honorable Wanga, and she's getting assistance from the Ministry of Health. So, to answer your question, we are dealing with mad persons, and we have to just deal with them in a very, very hard way. Very hard way. This driver, from an account of a driver who was following that vehicle, he actually overtook a saloon car. At the bumps, when this guy tried to overtake the vehicle again, he swerved to the right to prevent him. He was on downhill, and the bus was carrying 77 passengers. It is licensed to carry 61. There was a lot of cargo because I think they were taking merchandise to a market in Homa Bay. So overloading is and overspeeding. We are in a very, can I put it, in a situation that is very chaotic. And I think that is where we are starting from. And we just have to get this thing right. And I say something has to yield, and it is not the government. Let me also point out what happened at Kodere yesterday, and I want to condemn this act of hooliganism. We started our campaign for Safety First on 21st. We have tried to stop what we would call corruption by making sure that there are courts on site so that we are operating in a very open and transparent manner. But the stoning of police officers and people from NTSA at Kodere just tells you what I've said, that we are dealing with a situation that we cannot deal with in a normal way, and we are going to be very hard.
All right, Engineer Michael Kamau, Cabinet Secretary for Transport, thank you very much for talking to me this evening. We are definitely watching and definitely following this from the government perspective. Now, earlier on, Engineer Michael Kamau said the government is considering to ban night travel of public service vehicles to curb road carnage. Kamau also said that city-to-city bus will be sued as it lacks a valid license from the Transport Licensing Board. Here now is that clip.
What has happened today is murder. This is murder. This is not an accident. This is murder. And somebody has to be answerable for that. The owners of this bus, city to city, the company, they didn't have a TLB. There were 77 passengers in a bus that is supposed to have been carrying 61 passengers. So why was this bus on the road without a TLB? We are going to announce a raft of reforms that we want in the road sector, especially road transport. There is no movement of buses in Tanzania at night. If that is what it takes to save 40 lives, then we are going to do it.
All right, Engineer Michael Kamau there. Now, meanwhile, the management of the ill-fated city-to-city bus in the Ntulele accident has gone underground. Traffic Commandant Samuel Kimaru says the fleet of buses is notorious on the roads. And as Najma Ismail now reports, the buses are only licensed to operate between Nairobi and Garissa.
The city-to-city bus terminus in Eastleigh, business went on as usual. The officials oblivious of what had happened in Narok involving one of their buses. But beside the ticketing clerks and the crew, management of this bus company was not in sight. Police say the city-to-city buses are on record for being careless on the roads and tampering with speed governors, as well as flouting most traffic rules. Traffic boss Samuel Kimaru says their attempts to communicate with the management of the bus have not borne fruit.
Something annoying more is that the management of this company called City to City company, bus company, they are not there to assist us to identify the driver and also get to know what happened.
Kimaru says he has issued orders countrywide to impound all the buses belonging to City to City.
Some of their other vehicles are also doing the same. They might have tampered with the speed governors and they are also speeding. So we are going to address that by checking. We want to inspect all their vehicles.
The National Transport and Safety Authority added its voice, saying only 2 city-to-city buses are validly licensed by the Transport Licensing Board and they should be plying the Nairobi-Garissa route only. However, this was not the case with today's ill-fated bus since it was plying a completely different route.
According to them, they have buses operating between here and Sori through Homa Bay, and also other buses which ply between here and Mwingi and Garissa. That one we have not been able to establish according to the TLB, because according to our TLB details, these buses are only licensed to ply Thika, Mwingi, Garissa, and some up to Dadaab.
This bus is a 62-seater. Initial indication are that this vehicle was carrying about 70 passengers.
Just yesterday, operators on one of the buses belonging to City to City were arrested near Juja for speeding. Najma Ismail, KTN.
All right, now, tragic accident would always thrust the country into a collective uproar, and true to form, Kenyans would heap all the blame entirely on the driver. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta is pointing an accusing finger at another group of people. Bus owners will now have to account for accidents involving their vehicles. Catherine Omwanto has that report.
Thursday, 2 a.m., we're at it again. The country is sent into mourning. Citizens spring into an uproar, angry at the driver, others at the bus owner, others still blaming the passengers for not speaking up when they saw their driver was reckless on the road. Sadly, the story has been told before, and this statement made one too many times.
Twaendelea kupoteza wananchi wengi sana kupitia ajali za barabara.
In 2012, the 10th Parliament amended the Traffic Offences Act, presenting stricter penalties to those who broke the traffic laws. Once it was passed, the new and improved act was followed to the letter by traffic police, and of course resented by public service vehicle operators and owners who claimed the act was made solely to make their lives miserable.
The hefty penalties and punitive sentences to be meted out to the traffic rules and regulation violators, are not the solution.
After this, the traffic police seemed to be less keen, with claims that officers were ready to look the other way if those who broke the law were prominent personalities or were willing to give a bribe. According to the Ministry of Transport, there was a slight reduction of fatalities on our roads between 2011 and 2012, but only halfway through 2013, more than 1,900 people have died on our roads, meaning unless road carnage is put on the top of the agenda, the figure will continue to rise.
Kila mtu akiingia kwa barabara hana haja ya kufuata sheria. Haja yake ni haraka ya kufika, aweke pesa kwa mfuko.
As of 2009, the Kenya Roads Board statistics ranked Kenya 5th among countries with the worst road accident statistics. The question is, who should bear the responsibility?
Sio tu dereva wa gari, hata mwenye gari sasa ataanza kubeba mzigo wa kuhakikisha ya kwamba gari lake linatii sheria za barabara.
While it is the responsibility of bus owners to ensure their vehicles and drivers are in tip-top shape, some blame may be directed to the laxity of the police department in implementing the Traffic Amendment Act to the letter and letting these rogue drivers and vehicle owners get away with murder. Catherine Omwanto, KTN.
The Big Q, in association with Nguvu Cement.
All right, this tragic road crash is the genesis of our big question, and tonight we're not asking a yes or no question, but seeking your opinion. Who should take responsibility for the escalating road carnage in Kenya? Send us your comments to the number 8040. You can tweet me at JamesSmart, and I'll sample your views during this live newscast.
Choose Nguvu for undoubted strength.
All right, now the International Criminal Court has dismissed Deputy President William Ruto's application to change his trial schedule. Ruto will now have to be at The Hague for close to a month when his trial begins on the 10th of September this year. Sophia Wanuna has that report.
Deputy President William Ruto's defense team has suffered yet another blow after Trial Chamber 5 at the International Criminal Court rejected his request to have the court sit continuously for 2 weeks, followed by a 2-week break. In a schedule released Thursday by the Trial Chamber, Ruto will be at The Hague for close to a month when his trial begins. The court will sit on a daily basis from 10th September to 4th October. And after a 9-day break, daily court sessions will resume for 3 weeks from 14th October to 1st November this year. This means from the date his trial begins, Deputy President William Ruto will, in a span of 53 days, be out of the country for 44 days. A further sitting schedule will be issued in coming days. The trial chamber in a communique said it wanted to advance as much as possible in the case against Ruto and radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang. Quote, before constraints related to other cases affect the schedule, noting that there may be a need to modify the sitting schedule in the present case once the trial in the Kenyatta case commences, end quote. President Uhuru Kenyatta's trial is set to begin November 12th this year. Uhuru, Ruto and Sang are facing crimes against humanity charges at the ICC in relation to the 2007-2008
Good evening, this is Business and my name is Boni Tunya. Now, is the East African community standing on shaky ground? This is a question many are asking after the heads of state of Kenya, Uganda and Rwanda hold 2 meetings without inviting Tanzania. Could this be by design or default? Joseph Bonyo explores.
For the second time in a row, Tanzania was conspicuously missing at the commissioning of Birth 19 in Mombasa, attended by East African community heads of states or their representatives. In June, neither Tanzania nor its representatives attended the first of such meetings that continues to cement the newfound love between Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda, centered on regional infrastructure. Reached for comments, President Jakaya Kikwete's spokesperson noted that he was not invited to the Mombasa meeting or the one in Uganda earlier. Instead, he referred journalists from the nation newspapers to organizers of the events to find out why President Kikwete was not invited.
Over the last 2 months, Kigali and Dar es Salaam have experienced some tense moments as President Kagame and President Kikwete talk at each other. The decision came about when President Kikwete urged his brother Kagame to talk to rebel forces in the DRC as a possible way of solving the unrest in the Democratic Republic of Congo, a position that Kagame was not comfortable with.
But while the EAC Secretariat, in a statement to journalists based in Arusha, acknowledged the tension in the regional bloc, Secretary General Richard Sezibera indicated all was being done to solve the stalemate. The statement further noted that the regional bloc would after all not collapse in the face of the tensions. Of significance to the 2 meetings that the 3 countries and lately Burundi and South Sudan has been the key infrastructure deals that seems to be locking out Tanzania. At the Wednesday meeting in Mombasa, the proposed standard gauge railway line connecting Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda and Burundi was discussed, as well as an oil pipeline between Kenya and Uganda with the possibility of an extension to Rwanda. But while Tanzania seems like it's increasingly being locked out of the EAC, international relations expert will be quick to point that perhaps it is concentration with the Southern African Development Corporation SADC in the recent days that is at play. Recently, her past permanent secretary in charge of the EAC, Dr. Stagomena Tax Bamwenda, was appointed to the executive secretary position of SADC. Joseph Bonyo, KTN Business Today.
Let's talk numbers now. In Kenya, Commercial Bank net profit increased 18% to just about 7.1 billion shillings in the first half of the year to cheap deposits and improved earnings from its regional subsidiaries. The lender Thursday reported that contributions from its operations in Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda and Southern Sudan and Burundi also grew 80% to 879 million shillings as at June 2013 compared to 487 million shillings a year earlier. Now, the bank staff cost increased 7% to 6.3 billion shillings, attributed to the 750 million shillings one-off cost in laying off of 200 staff members earlier this year. KCB's volume of bad loans was up 73% to 8.8 billion shillings, blamed on government freeze on paying state suppliers to the run-up of the March polls. Elsewhere, Britam has posted a 28.5% rise in profits after tax to 2.15 billion shillings for the first half of end of June 2013. Revenues from insurance premiums grew 4.4 billion shillings from 3.4 billion shillings, while its assets management business grew 67% from 160 million shillings in a similar period last year. Investment income for the period was at 3.74 billion shillings, a 44% growth. Moving on, a controversial lease handed out to businessman Peter Muthoka of Andy Forwarders Limited has come back to haunt the Kenya Airports Authority. According to the Auditor General's report tabled in Parliament, the deal was fraudulent. Adelaide Changole explains.
The former managing director of the Kenya Airports Authority, George Muhoho, has come under the spotlight after reports presented to the Parliamentary Investments Committee alleged that he had engaged in fraud in the administration of his duties. According to reports tabled by the Office of the Auditor General, it all began with the signing of a lease with TransGlobal Limited in 2009 that was to have allowed the firm to build a cargo handling facility, operate it and then transfer it back to the government within a period of 20 years. But Muhoho allegedly changed the decision of the tendering committee, giving the company an automatic lease renewal for a further 20 years and granting them rights to apply for an extra 20 years more, bringing the total lease period to 60 years. According to the Auditor General's report, TransGlobal then approached Standard Chartered Bank of Kenya and applied for a debenture of 510 million shillings using the leased KAA land as collateral. This, the House Committee said, contravened the KAA Act and exposed the authority to loss of public land should TransGlobal default on payment. It also emerged that the consent that was used to approve the debenture was executed 24 days after Muhoho left office, which the PIC members said is an illegality. In their estimation, Muhoho's successor should have taken the lead in executing the deal. Interestingly, while the Registrar of Companies logged the lease on May 7, 2010, the Lands Registry was updated on the same on February 4, 2011, a whole 10 months later. KAA management said they were not aware the former MD had executed the deal as late as 2011 and asked for more time to provide suitable answers. The Investments Committee gave the authority 4 weeks to present a comprehensive response to the allegations. Adelaide Changole, KTN Business Today.
Well, that's all in business. Money Market coming up next.
KTN Business Today in association with Safaricom Business. Get a Lipa na M-Pesa till for your business today. To sign up, SMS Lipa to 21366.